this is what the human heart looks like, and it's a fist, it's just fist, it's about the size of the fist, and just a bit to the left of the chest, and its function is to pump blood through the system in order to provide oxygen and nourishment, and also remove waste products and carbon dioxide as byproducts. And that's basically what is depicted here. And one is confirmed to be what's clinically dead when the heart stops and there's no breathing and brain activity. So cardiovascular diseases, these are ailments that affect the proper function of the heart and blood vessels, and include what we're talking about today, myocardial infarction or heart attack. I would like this opportunity to make us understand that this our seminar, the health seminar today, is going to be in very simple terminologies. Anything that I say that you don't understand, please kindly indicate after the seminar. Just write it down, and I will definitely try my best to break a lot of things down into simple ways we can understand. Beautiful. Now, you see, they are the leading cause of death in the world. And I've mentioned myocardial infarction or heart attack, hypertension, brain attack or stroke, angina pectoris is that pain one feels. We'll talk about that shortly. And then, who knows that even rheumatoid arthritis can actually cause issues in the heart? You know, we have cardiomyopathies, which includes the one I love mentioning the most, which is Takotsubo syndrome, which is heartbreak syndrome that affects people when they undergo deep emotional stress, along with, you know, enlarged heart or dilated, distended heart, as in the case of hypertrophy and dilated cardiomyopathy, which just means this dilated section of the heart, the left side of the left ventricle has been distended as a result of excess pumping of, that is the pressure that using to pump blood has been so much for a long time, and it leads the muscles to distend. And you have cardiac arrhythmias, abnormal heartbeat, congestive heart failure, that's poor heart function or cardiac efficiency. Then we have inflamed heart muscles and a lot of others as well. So what are the greatest assassins? You know, we have 007, we have, what's the name of that guy? Tom Cruise, yes, Mission Impossible, you know, and all that. But believe it or not, the greatest assassin, no, we're not about Boko Haram, or we're talking about the other people that are the terrorists in the other side, Middle East and all that. Those are just learners when it comes to being assassins and killers. The greatest assassins on earth today are cholesterol and what? Stress. Because cholesterol will lead to what is called ischemia. And once you hear the word ischemia, know that it means blockage of blood supply leading to what? Cell death. That is the long and short of the story of that word ischemia. So when you hear ischemic stroke, it means that a portion of the brain died because of lack of blood supply. And guess what causes the lack of blood supply? Cholesterol blockage. So you can see how these things are linked up. Of course, stress is oxidative reactive species of free radicals that damage DNA. Remember that even the cells that make up our bodies all contain DNA. So imagine when stress is damaging the DNA, their function is what? Affected. So when you hear high blood cholesterol and you hear the baptismal name, that's what I call baptismal name, that's hypercholesterolemia. When you tell the patient you are having hypercholesterolemia, the patient can just collapse on the chair, but it just means that the person is having high blood cholesterol. So these languages we use to confuse you, just ignore them and listen to the simpler ones. So simply put, it means excessive detrimental accumulation of all forms of cholesterol except the good cholesterol. Who knows that? Who has heard of good cholesterol? Good cholesterol is the high density lipoprotein, which is the HDL, and that is what. So now, the signs and symptoms include chest pain, leg pain. Sometimes people have leg pain because of DVT. Their cholesterol has accumulated in the deep vein of the deep veins in the body. Poor vision, because even the eyes need what? Blood supply, and the cholesterol blocks the blood supply. One begins to have poor vision. Insomnia, because the brain too needs blood supply to be calm and carry its functions. So when the brain is having issues and saying it's not having enough blood supply, how can you sleep when your brain is not sleeping or allowing you to sleep? Headaches and so on. Risk factors include genetics. Yes, there's always a genetic predisposition. But some people will say everybody in their family is fat, so that's why they must be fat. It's not true, because I remember that when Obasanjo went to jail, he came out and he was slim. That means you are what you actually consume. So it's just a propensity. Whereas some people can eat the whole elephant and still be in figure 1. Now we have diabetes as well, because it leads to an increase in cholesterol directly. Being overweight is a strong risk factor. We're going to talk about that briefly. And then poor dieting, lack of exercise, alcoholism, and smoking. Let's go back to poor dieting, because it entails, it also means that you are what you consume. You can imagine somebody using a bottle of Coke to rinse mouth in the morning before you say your morning prayers. That's an evidence of what? Poor dieting. So people that prefer to swim inside Cold Stone ice cream and all that rather than eat vegetables. These are examples of poor dieting. Now, complications include heart attack. I don't want to mention the name, but we know that the entanglement facility is no longer performing. Then we'll talk about cardiac arrest, and that means the person has already, the heart has backed up as a result of what? Myocardial infarction. So you can see the link between sudden death and myocardial infarction at the end of the day leads to cardiac failure or what? Cardiac arrest. That means the heart has been what? It has lost its capability to function. Then we'll talk about stroke and death and all that. So the major challenge is basically blockage of blood vessels leading to cell damage and or death in the affected area. But interestingly, the greatest enemy of a healthy heart is what? High blood cholesterol. And it can lead to what? Overweight or obesity. That's what people do not understand. They go together. These lifestyle diseases, they move together. They have their own clique. That's why you see type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, high blood cholesterol, hypertension, stroke, myocardial infarction. All of them are in the same, they're all cousins and they move around together one way or the other. Obesity as well. You see, one can cause the other can cause one. So you can see they're all interwoven in one terrible way that I can explain a bit right now. Now you can see that giving the heart a wider region to pump by being obese has done what? Made your heart need to increase blood pressure. That has led to another lifestyle disease, what? Hypertension. You see, obesity has now led to hypertension. And it can actually block the flow of blood, leading to what? Increase in peripheral resistance, which can also lead to what? Hypertension. You can see angina pectoris, that is the pain that the heart cells are dying when they don't have oxygen supply, because cholesterol has done what? It has caused a roadblock somewhere. They are now dying on the other side, and they are crying in pain and protesting. That protest that they are protesting is what is people feel in their chest. I will explain that shortly. And it can also lead to heart attack as well as cardiac arrest. But guess what? What regulates your heartbeat also needs what? Oxygen and food supply. So you can imagine cholesterol blocking that one as well. It will be as if the DJ just left the materials that is using to play the music and the thing is playing randomly. You can imagine that is how the beats of the heart will begin to go abnormally and randomly, because the person will start having irregular heartbeats because the DJ has not been given enough food or blood supply. That DJ is actually what we call the pacemaker cells in the heart. We'll talk about that some other time. And then you can see this is how cholesterol causes havoc. It comes as a visitor, then finally the tenant becomes the landlord and blocks everywhere, and the cells on that side begin to die. So you can see cholesterol doing its work. Yes, cholesterol is very hard working. It doesn't have break. It's always dedicated to its job, which is to cause problem, block the blood vessels. And that is why the secret to longevity for certain people is what? Cleaning up your blood vessels. We'll talk about that some other time. So it's worthy of note that this process affects the entanglement facility in men as well. The way it's affecting the upstream sector is affecting the downstream sector, and that can lead to what they call ED or poor entanglement factor. So you see, myocardial infarction or heart attack, this is heart cell death due to poor blood flow, period. So one of the major causes of this poor blood flow is cholesterol blockage. Now, a heart attack may lead to cardiac arrest and or heart failure, but it is not the same with either of them. When somebody says, this guy had a heart attack, they say, is he alive? The guy would have died. It doesn't mean that heart attack does not mean that that person has died. It just means that the person is already on his way to having what is called a cardiac arrest. And that is just to clarify that. So these are the symptoms we have here, which is the most common is angina pectoris, which is that chest pain we talked about. We're going to talk about angina pectoris briefly. So this is just pain as a result of dying cells of the heart crying in pain. It's often felt in the chest region and may radiate to the neck, the jaw, the shoulder, the arm, especially the left arm. I had a patient called me from the Middle East, and she was having this headache radiating from her neck down to her head. And when she mentioned something, her left angle of her arm was also aching her. I told her, Madam, the matter is very simple. I gave her a drug, they say 100 naira a sachet, and that was how she was, because she was already on her way to having what? A cerebrovascular accident or stroke. You won't believe that just a tablet of that drug that is 10 naira or just one tablet, by the next morning she woke up and said that she's well. She started praying for me. But there was no magic there. We only dissipated the cholesterol that was blocking the blood supply with something called ASA, acetylsalicylic acid, or baby aspirin. And you can see that's a chemical. So it just takes one out of danger. I will explain that later. There are other things we are supposed to do. So you can see that we have stable angina when it is stress-induced. That one is even safe. It means that only when the person is exerted with work or something, that's when the pain comes up. But the most dangerous one, bear in mind, is called the unstable angina. That's the one that happens when the person is actually relaxing, you're feeling chest pain. My brother and sister in the Lord, that person is closer and closer to his or her maker and should start running to the hospital immediately. Bear in mind that this thing also affects entanglement, because no one can be having entanglement factor, a high entanglement factor, when one is afraid that he or she may or may not make it. Now, these are other symptoms: shortness of breath, extreme tiredness. Remember that the heart is what is pumping blood all around. So if it's having problem, where will you have the blood that will give you energy? Insomnia, we mentioned that before. You can imagine the brain is not sleeping and you want to sleep. Or where anxiety, because the person will be anxious, doctor, am I going to make it, and all that. Then we have irregular heartbeats, the DJ is starved of oxygen, that's the SA node, the sinoatrial node. Then we have the dizziness of pacemaker cells, that's the pacemaker cells. We have dizziness and fainting, lack of blood supply to the brain, because the heart, that is the pumping machine, cannot pump blood upstairs. So that means, and the brain cannot come down to come and fetch blood. So there's a problem. There is stomach discomfort. Bear in mind that when people are having stomach discomfort, that's why they go to the hospital, they say that they're having ulcer. Sometimes it eventually means that they're about to have what? A cardiac arrest as a result of what? The heart attack. Of course, burning pain and pressure and all that happens in the chest as a result of the angina pectoris and nausea and vomiting. So these are the causes and risk factors: high blood fat or cholesterol, lifestyle diseases, lack of exercise, poor diet. Being a man is a risk factor. Can you imagine? That means being a man, the one has a higher tendency of having these issues. Drug abuse, because that period that the drug just entered the head and they are hitting their head and saying, chai, that period the heart is what? Running 440 kilometers per hour. That means the heart can do what? Crash anytime. And that's why it's a strong risk factor. Anemia, low blood. Where is the blood to pump? So there's no blood to pump. Even the heart cannot get enough blood, so it's already having problem. Genetic predisposition has already been explained, because that means it's a tendency. Depression and deep emotional stress, also known as Takotsubo syndrome. That's why we need to take it easy with our women, especially because they are emotional. When you shout at a woman, you don't see her, or she has a deep emotional stress or a shock. Don't just a woman having shock and she holds her head or her leg, she will hold her what? Her chest, because of what? Takotsubo syndrome. She is actually having a heart attack, but maybe a mild one. So we need to get smoking, of course, we know that makes the blood vessels to be what? Constricted. Where will the blood supply come from? Alcoholism directly increases bad cholesterol. That's a very serious problem. And then we have endometriosis below the age of 40 is a risk factor, and rheumatoid arthritis, etc., etc., etc. So the complications include what we are talking about: sudden death. In the middle, we just added cardiac. And in brackets, we just called it, we are calling it cardiac arrest. But at the end of the day, it's just sudden death. So the heart stopping due to blockage of blood supply to the heart cells, amongst other reasons, because there are other reasons that can come up. Somebody can have a gunshot to the chest. The person already has automatic cardiac arrest. So there are other reasons. So this is just one of the major reasons that cause it. And we have heart failure, economic issues. We all know what that can cause, amongst others. So just briefly, cardiopulmonary resuscitation is just chest compressions and artificial ventilation to keep the blood supply to the brain, to maintain blood supply to the brain. You understand? Because once there's no blood supply to the brain, the person, the whole body would what system shut down, and the person can go and meet the maker from there. So you can see that this person is just trying to, pump the chest or pump the heart at about 100 to 120 times per minute and give 8 breaths of life. You see some men, some boys beside the swimming pool, when they find a fine girl going near the pool, they begin to remove their shirts, hoping that they will give cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's not for kissing, no, it's for giving breath of what? Life. Now, diagnosis includes their symptoms. When the patient can tell you the symptoms, you should be able to understand that, okay, that person is already having an impending heart attack because of the angina pectoris, which is a red flag. Blood tests, cardiac enzymes like troponin 1, troponin 2, creatine phosphokinase, and a lot of other grammar I don't want to bore us with. Lipid profiles that we can check the total cholesterol, the bad cholesterol or LDL, the good cholesterol or HDL, triglycerides, etc., etc. Compare the ratios between them and make sure that total cholesterol is less than the ratio of the total cholesterol to the HDL or good cholesterol should best be less than 3.5. And these are just a few things. Then ECG or electrocardiogram. This one will tell us the electrical, from the way the heart is releasing its own electrical signals, we can tell whether there are problems in one place or the other. The echocardiogram, on the other hand, will show us the silhouette of the heart. Because when the heart has been gymming with excess high blood pressure or is suffering serious as a result of lack of blood supply, the structure of the heart begins to change. And when a heart practitioner looks at it, the person can now know that, okay, this heart shape has changed from this side or that side as a result of probable reasons. These are how these are diagnosed. So, but briefly look about hypertension, which is a sustained elevation of blood pressure, because hypertension is a risk factor. We'll find out why it's a risk factor shortly. Anybody that knows this formula for hypertension, just know that all the medication that people take around hypertension and all the causes of hypertension are all within this formula you're looking at in front here. Cardiac output peripheral resistance. So when someone is taking the amlodipine or whatever, or the amlodipine is designed to make the blood vessels enlarge so that you can have decreased peripheral resistance. When someone is taking a beta blocker like propranolol, it's supposed to reduce what? Cardiac output. Anything that reduces either of these two or both of them will bring down blood pressure. And anything that increases either of these two or both of them will do what? Lead to an increase in blood pressure. And that's why you see that when people have excess cholesterol in their system, you find out that there's a resistance to blood flow, and the heart will do what? Increase blood pressure so that it can squeeze to that resistance. But you guys should tell me, think about it. If that resistance is taken off, what will happen to your blood pressure? So you can type the response in the comment section. What do you think will happen when you remove the resistance to blood flow in the blood vessels? Well, the answer is very simple. The blood pressure will go down. And that's one of the major ways people help to reverse hypertension. A lot of people believe that hypertension is not reversible. That is not true. Because if you go to Google and type DASH, you will see dietary approach to stop hypertension. The language is not dietary approach to not stop hypertension. If there's a dietary approach to stop hypertension, that means hypertension is what? Stoppable. So when you go to hospital, they tell that hypertension is for life, you take this for life and that for life. If you remove the cause of hypertension, it will be reversed. So just bear that in mind. So that's just one truth that people may not circulate so often. As blood pressure rises, it damages the inner wall of the blood vessels, causing inflammatory reactions that lead towards accumulation of who again? Cholesterol. And once cholesterol gets somewhere, it blocks blood supply and begins to cause havoc on the other side. Because the cells on the other side begin to die because they don't have enough blood supply. And that's why cholesterol blockage is terrible. And you can see now the link between hypertension and heart attack or myocardial infarction. Because people are wondering, how can high blood pressure that is supposed to be pumping blood more to that area be causing problem again? This is how it causes problem. It damages the blood vessels and makes cholesterol to anchor around and block them completely and lead to what? This issue of heart attack. If a similar thing happens in the brain, it's called a brain attack or what? A stroke. And if it happens in the eyes, it's called what? Hypertensive retinopathy, because it has blocked blood supply to the eyes as well. A lot of other like that. So professional management entail dieting, exercise, regular diagnostic checks. You cannot use eye gauge to know the problem. Somebody may be fat and have a very healthy cardiovascular system. Somebody may be slim and may be very fat. If you squeeze the person, you can squeeze out 1 gallon of groundnut oil from the person of oil from the person's body. So it doesn't, you can't measure. So people, you draw their blood, put a centrifuge, you will see that up to 1/3 of the blood is what? White fat. I'm telling you, just go to Google and check. You will see some people, pure white fat will come out and the person is slim. So you have to do what? Have regular diagnostic checks. So you have to address underlying disease conditions that can lead to heart attack, like what? Type 2 diabetes. And other lifestyle diseases like fatty liver disease, obesity. We're going to talk about that briefly. And you can see what else? High blood cholesterol and other hypercholesterolemia and all that. Quit smoking, avoid alcoholism, and the use of appropriate chemical drugs to take one out of danger. The nitroglycerin, sublingual nitroglycerin put under the tongue to help the patient is not for life. It's just to help that person at that point in time. The low dose aspirin or the baby aspirin is not chin-chin. It's just to make sure that the blood vessels are dispersed. It also has its own side effects. The clopidogrel, the gabigatram, and the rest are not designed for you to take forever and ever. Amen. No, they are just to take a patient out of danger. The best bet of every patient is to remember that your body is in a constant state of repair. I will tell us that at the end of I will explain that at the end of this seminar before the questions come, and the use of natural pharmaceuticals. This is the surest way I know to help to reverse these issues, because they act from a cellular level. They may be slow, but whatever they give to you is your property, belongs to you. Unlike chemical drugs, when you withdraw them, you may find that the problem begins to what? Come back at lightning speed. So how do these natural pharmaceuticals help in preventing heart attack, help in weight management, prevent and disperse cholesterol aggregation in the heart blood vessels, regenerate and rejuvenate damaged cell and tissue due to that? Remember that some cells are dying. And it is postulated that when heart cells die, they are difficult to revive back. But those ones that are still dying and crying in pain and giving the angina pectoris people feel can still be revived. So you can see that it's possible to prevent and reverse irregular heartbeats, because the DJ has to be brought back and given enough blood supply to regulate the heartbeat. And you can see the healing and detoxification of the liver. The liver plays a very important role in cholesterol regulation. The good cholesterol helps to remove bad cholesterol from the system back to the liver for processing. That means if the liver itself is even overfull of cholesterol or fat, begins to throw it up and down, can throw it in the stomach, pot belly, throw it in the neck, throw it in the back, throw it everywhere, and can throw it, unfortunately, to the heart and cause cardiac arrest via myocardial infarction. So you can see that also helps to prevent that. The prevention and management of disease conditions, yes, we have already mentioned that lead to heart attack, including hypertension, okay, yeah, etc., etc., etc. So these are just a few examples. I'm not going to dwell on this for too long. Whoever invited you will be able to explain this in detail. But just bear in mind that Arctic sea is what we call essential fatty acids, because our bodies cannot produce them. They have to come from outside. And that's why these essential fatty acids, which are of the two most important of this category of essential fatty of these biomolecules, are eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, EPA and DHA. You see a lot of packets outside, they write DHA in large capital letter, foul. Many of them are fake. If you want to know, carry your styrofoam and throw inside, or throw it inside, you see that it cannot even dissolve the styrofoam, which is structurally similar, or the hydrocarbons structurally similar to cholesterol. It cannot even dissolve anything. Unfortunately, some patients their children are having intellectual disabilities, they go and start swallowing all these fake DHA and all that, believing that something will happen. Fortunately, nothing eventually happens. That's why this product is very, very important, because it is made from what is called a cold process. That means because these essential fatty acids are actually very heat labile. Heat destroys them. But unfortunately, the commercial people go and get the one they call the ones that have the ester backbone that is more heat stable. So they just put it a little heat there, just drops inside the pan, they put it inside capsule, and people are now drinking granite oil or drinking petroleum oil that will later go and worsen what they are expecting to solve. So bear this in mind. There's a lot of fake out there, and it's causing problem because people are searching for what? Money. Now, this, apart from that, it also produces what they call nitric oxide at the end, which is a natural vasodilator to allow blood flow better. We'll talk about this later, some other time. Garlic thyme contains lecithin. Lecithin emulsifies fats. When your mechanic finishes repairing your car and the hands are dirty, you know what Omo does to those, that engine oil? This is what lecithin does to fat and cholesterol in the blood vessels, helping you to clean up the blood vessels. Apart from the antioxidants it contains that prevents DNA damage. Remember that whatever we are doing without a sound DNA, we are wasting our time. Because DNA is the chief marketing director, MD CEO, Oga Patapata, the highest boss that controls and regulates everything about us. That is why it's very important that these free radicals are kept in check. So that's just in the bonus. Now, this product, sometimes we run away from this product because it does almost everything you can think of. Do you know that even if someone has a fire accident and you pour this thing on the person's, that place, the fire, the heat damage the person's skin, if you can pour it immediately when it happened, the healing will be faster than if you not pour it at all. It's a wonderful product that's been in use for thousands of years, even from the time of the pharaohs and Egyptians. So so let's just talk about it being an adaptogen. Let's call it a catalyst. It's something that promotes and makes sure that everything is in order and is going back the way your mother gave birth to you. In short, that's what we call in Nigeria, we call it follow-come. Take you back to your follow-come, the way you were from your manufacturer, which was your mother. That is what this thing does. So when you are taking it, you see that you get younger and the cells begin to rejuvenate and regenerate very fast because of what? Somatic stem cell stimulus. Bear in mind that a lot of people are saying that they are drinking stem cell. It is a scam. You cannot drink stem cell because no stem cell can survive the acid of your stomach. Some say they are putting stem cell under their tongue. It is a very big lie. There is a barrier between your tongue and that's your fake stem cell you are taking that it cannot cross. How can your cells, the stem cell, cross through the cells that make the barrier of the under your tongue? I mean, so I hear all these things and I just laugh. Well, people are making their money and cashing out. So you can only stimulate somatic stem cells. Remember that we have two types of stem cells. We have the pluripotent stem cells that are abundant when the baby is forming in the tummy. That's one, you can find some of them still available in the bone marrow because that's why these cells can differentiate into the red blood cells, white blood cells, the platelets, and all that. Those are the only types that are available. But once you become an adult, what you have mostly is called somatic stem cell. And these somatic stem cells are also abundant where in the heart. So when this is taken, it can trigger them and say, oh yeah, people should get back to work. Go and repair these things that have been damaged by cholesterol. I think we're addressing, and then everything begins to get all right. You understand? So don't be deceived. There's nothing like stem cell. You put under your tongue, you put in your mouth, it's fake. Now, cardio health contains coenzyme Q10, which is what? A biomolecule for proper function, regeneration, and regeneration of the heart, the lungs, the liver, and kidneys. Bear in mind that the heart, the lungs, the heart, the liver, and the kidneys are, yes, the heart, the liver, and the kidneys are, and the lungs, yes, actually have a lot in common. Remember that the heart pumps blood to the lungs. And so if there's any problem around that area, one can have what is called pulmonary hypertension. That's why I see some old men, when they lie down in the night to sleep, they start coughing, coughing, coughing. When they sit up, the cough will stop. You understand? And that's not the, so they start putting pillows to elevate their head. You know, there's what they call 1 or 2 or 3 pillow apnea. You understand? So you see that the lungs also have a very strong link with the heart. You understand? Then, secondly, you find out that the kidneys also have a strong link with blood pressure because you see that there's something called the juxtaglomerular cells that produce renin. And I don't want to pause with the reaction, but bear in mind that your lisinopril, that's where it acts on. You know, the losartan, the candesartan, that's where it acts on to prevent constriction and all that. So these things are all interconnected. That's why this product is very important because it has a lot to do with regeneration and rejuvenation of the heart, the lungs, the liver, and kidneys. Remember that if the liver is not properly detoxified, it cannot accommodate more cholesterol and its analogs. And guess what? They begin to dump themselves all over the body, including the blood vessels of the heart. So you see, the liver is also linked to this matter. That's why this product is very important. And to add to this product actually helps to reduce cholesterol in the system. So you can see why it's very important. Then this is a product that is what we call a must-have. This is what we call a must-have because it contains what is called L-arginine. L-arginine leads to production of what? Nitric oxide. And that nitric oxide is what essential, is a very, very, very potent natural vasodilator. And when the blood vessels are dilated, blood flows what? Freer, peripheral resistance reduces, blood pressure reduces, and the risk of myocardial infarction also reduces, and the risk of a cardiac arrest also reduces. But just as it also helps with that, it's actually an amino acid. So it's a building block of what? Muscles. Guess what the heart is made up of mostly? Muscles. So you can see that it helps with what? Muscle growth and development in the heart. But as a bonus, just as it's helping the upstream sector to have a better flow of blood, it also helps what? The downstream sector and helps madam to be happier in the other room. So before we go on, I want us to understand that there's something that we take for granted. We hear people saying that, we're in Lenten season or we're in Ramadan season. Bear in mind that these seasons are not only for spiritual growth, but are also essential for health. Because of what is called autophagy. This simply means that your body has the ability to digest unwanted substances and convert them to what? Wanted substances. That means when you fast intermittently or professionally, you give your liver the opportunity to consume unwanted substances. And ask me one of the unwanted substances that are consumed by the liver, cholesterol and fat. So you can see that that's important. Then second, I want us to understand that drinking enough water is very important because that is what will help the kidneys to take away toxins. In another section, I'll tell us how toxins are related to rebound weight and all that. Now, this program is very essential because it's a 9 days weight loss and detoxification program that is designed to reduce excess energy intake in form of food or caloric intake and increase caloric expenditure, which is expenditure of energy, maybe via exercise and all that. Now, it's via the use of a low caloric diet plan, exercise, and the autophagy we just mentioned, which is therapeutic fasting. You see, everything is interwoven. And natural pharmaceuticals that I'll tell us a little about them while they ensure adequate nourishment. You see, the reason why I put this here is because weight management is key in preventing what? Myocardial infarction and cardiac arrest and sudden death. That's why I'm putting this here. Because anybody that is overweight and is trying to avoid cardiac arrest is wasting his or her time. Just like somebody that is overweight and is trying to manage osteoarthritis, you are wasting your time. So there are some basic things that we need to understand in science. And science is such a beautiful tool that God has given us. To understand it, you know how to excel health-wise. So you see, systematically includes intermittent to appropriate fasting that helps to detoxify what? The liver. You see again, liver is also very important because one way or the other, now this product is here again, and this is how it helps in that Clean 9 program. This product is also essential because a lot of people enjoy doing what they call malnourishment. You drink agbo, you purge and purge and purge and purge, you see that your weight has gone down, it is a scam. Because when you eat again, the place that what you have purged out will go back and get occupied and your weight will go back up again. And on a sadder note, the cells will become malnourished. So the person is trying to reduce weight and it's causing problem on that side. I'll be reducing weight and be causing kwashiorkor on that side, which is that problem again, or lose nourishment and all that, and the cells become unhealthy. That is not how to lose weight. Professional weight loss is the best way to lose weight. Fiber will help us to clean our system, our digestive tract, especially those that are having pile or hemorrhoid. It's that they always tell you to use fiber to make sure the stool is soft to prevent the what they call fecal impaction and all that. But there's also a very strong link between the bacteria in the gut and our immune system. These are things we'll talk about some other time. This is very important because you know the way you burn diesel to power what's it called, a truck or a trailer. That's the way this one burns fat to produce energy. That's why when people are undergoing this professional weight loss, rather than you have craving to eat food, the fat in your body will be providing the energy you need, and your body will calm down and reduce its craving for food. That's why this is very important. So you gain in two ways. You burn fat and you gain energy. This hydroxytric acid is what made a man have a Nobel Prize, and his name is, I think, Hoffman de Waal. So he got the Nobel Prize because he discovered what is called hydroxytric acid. It prevents the conversion of carbohydrates towards fat and its analog like cholesterol. And this is why it's very important. And you see that it's also incorporated in that Clean 9 program. And that's why that program is very essential for patients that have had myocardial infarction, cerebrovascular accidents, etc., etc. It's very key. There's no patient of mine that has had CVA that I don't insist that they must do this Clean 9 program. It's a must do it, because when you do it, it will help to decongest or clean up the blood vessels, and you see that a lot of factors that actually cause those issues will be what mitigated. Of course, a measuring tape for evidence is there, and a book guide, and so on. So remember, as I was going to mention this at the end, you are what you consume. It is better one prevents problem by eating very right. I have an uncle that from when I've known him all my life, he eats right. He must do exercise every day. And if you meet it till today, he's more than 80 years old. He drives normal, doesn't use walking stick, nothing. That shows you that there's a clear evidence that you are really what you consume. And you can see that there's a constant battle between factors that repair and protect our bodies and those that break it down. And so we have to be on the winning side. Even my mentor is, if I tell you his age, you will not believe it. But you see the way he takes care of himself, you understand why somebody that is about 75 years will be looking like someone that is 55 or 52 years old. I'm telling you, so this is just the key to avoiding problem. Prevention is better than cure. Your body is always trying to repair itself. Stop taking your body to the left, take your body to the right by being on the winning side. Thank you very much, and God bless.